Bill Maher just said the quiet part out loud. Ever since Joe Biden dropped out of the race last month, the Democrats and their base have hesitantly started gathering around someone that they know is even more unpopular, and that's Kamala Harris. But that's not all, because all you need to do is look at the polls and the public sentiment over the last 3 years to realize that Bill Maher had picked up on this long ago, and the fact that we may be in fact witnessing one of the most unpopular Democratic tickets we've ever seen in a long time. Subscribe to the channel, take a look at what Bill said just a few weeks ago before I tell you more about it.
Kamala Harris, vice president, will get all of Biden's campaign money, and on the Democrats' best issue, abortion, she's a walking reminder to women that Republicans are coming for the abortion pill. She won't just protect Plan B. She is Plan B. And as a former prosecutor, Kamala was putting criminals in jail back before liberals decided that was a bad thing. And now that CVS is locking the shaving cream behind plexiglass, Democrats are coming around to her again.
Honestly, for a lot of people, including Bill Maher, Kamala Harris was not the most obvious choice to ascend to the top of the ticket in case Joe Biden dropped out. And that's because throughout the last 3 years, there's been an implicit understanding, even among the inter-Democratic establishment, that the only person less popular than Joe Biden was Kamala Harris. If you look at the polling numbers and the approval ratings prior to Joe Biden dropping out of the race on the 21st of July, you see a similar story. Biden's approval rating as president hovered around 38% in July, which is pretty abysmal. But look at the VP approval rating, and they were even lower at around 37%. That's why a lot of people were surprised when Kamala was formally announced as the Democratic candidate, even though the formal convention starts on August 19th, and that's gotten a lot of people believing that it was a decision made in haste. Is Joe Biden simply proved unviable in his chances of beating Donald Trump, especially after the disastrous debate night, and the attack against Trump last month? Unfortunately, that has also made a lot of people trying to complete that confusing puzzle by party DEI policies. Bill Maher did not hold back in saying what a lot of people have been thinking.
Harris would be the first woman president, first black woman president, and first Asian president. But I don't vote for who will be the first. I vote for who will win. And for whatever reason, Harris has never been popular. You can count the number of delegates she won in the 2020 primaries on one hand, as long as that hand has no fingers. In 3 years as vice president, she's been quieter than an electric car. And like an electric car, your MAGA uncle can't explain why she fills him with homicidal rage. She just does. Sometimes life isn't fair. It's not fair that she's not popular. She's intelligent and accomplished, and in fact was put in charge of the border. And look at how... Okay, bad example.
Remember, it's not just about one election of Democratic ticket, it's about the larger air of disillusionment that can envelop the Democratic base with an abundant shift to someone even more unpopular than the president. Now, granted, she has seen a few percentage points rise in her approval ratings to the early 40s after being announced as the candidate, but as Bill Maher mentioned earlier, there's still questions around whether Kamala Harris is really the horse that the party can bet on against someone like Donald Trump. There's also concerns around the nearly $300 million that the Biden campaign raised, now simply flowing to the Harris campaign instead, and those concerns have been accelerated after Kamala Harris picked someone that's arguably even less likable as a candidate because of his far left-wing policies, and that is Tim Walz. All of this is creating a confusing mix and a lack of certainty for the Democrats while they pretend to be enthusiastic in rallying behind Kamala. Maybe that's why before Joe Biden dropped out, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez revealed in a live stream that judging from the internal conversation she's hearing, the inter-Democratic circle wants both Biden and Kamala to go.
I'm gonna say what a lot of these folks aren't saying. I'm just gonna say it. If you think that there is consensus among the people who want Joe Biden to leave, that they will support Kamala, Vice President Harris, you would be mistaken. And I'm gonna say that because if they're gonna come out and say all their little things on background off the record, but they're not gonna be fully honest, I'm gonna be honest for them. I'm in these rooms. I see what they say in conversations. A lot of them are not just interested in removing the president, they are interested in removing the whole ticket.
That is truly something to hear. Clearly, it's not just people on the center left like Bill Maher, but even someone solidly on the left like AOC that understands that getting Joe Biden out just to get Kamala Harris in isn't exactly the best move on the chessboard. There's an air of artificiality you see in the campaign abruptly coming into shape after the president dropped out of the race, and then trying to rally her support base as well as the massive campaign funds towards her, while pretending it all came together naturally. And then there's the policies that the entire ticket that, if successful, if being seen as the greatest accelerant to far-left policies in the country. Not just with Kamala Harris's uneasy identity politics, but also with Tim Walz as someone with explicitly socialist ideas on how the American economy should be run. And then all of that is packaged and communicated in a way that doesn't seem to be resonating with much of the party's base. And if you ask Bill Maher, it's down to how unpopular and even irrelevant Kamala Harris has been as vice president. Here's what he said nearly 2 years ago when he was speaking purely in terms of Kamala as VP, let alone as a potential presidential candidate.
Could see is replacing the vice president because, yeah, she's just not very popular anywhere, and it didn't seem to work out. And I don't know. That's been done before on a ticket. Just think she's a bad politician, and I think she's a very bright person. But I don't know. But I can see them doing that because a lot of the problem with Biden being old is, if he, then you're going to get this person. Okay, so here's the problem with the Democratic Party. They're so boxed in by identity politics that you cannot conceive of a Democratic ticket that doesn't have a woman, person of color on it, and pretty soon you're going to line up behind that gay, Latino, and you're going to have a deaf Eskimo.
It seems like no one on the Democrat side that doesn't think very highly of Kamala Harris as VP is able to put their finger on exactly why that is. On the surface, she's a good balance as someone jolly and energetic to someone older like Joe Biden. And yet perhaps it's that lack of charisma why she just hasn't been able to connect with her base that well. That's also why someone like Ron DeSantis failed in the Republican primaries, because getting people on your side is more about communicating and exciting people in the beginning than straight-face policy position. In the mind of Bill Maher, that's part of the reason why he didn't want Joe Biden to drop out if that only meant Kamala Harris would take his place.
I'll give you another reason why, a good reason why Biden shouldn't run. The Kamala problem. Now, I like Kamala Harris, but for whatever reason, it just didn't work out, okay? I think she would make a great president of the University of Santa Barbara here in California. But
you know who called the election?
If Joe doesn't run, then we don't have to worry about her running, because it's hard to get rid of your running mate that you ran with last time, but if you don't run, then that kind of goes out with you.
It's that Kamala problem that seems to have left much of the Democratic Party as well as the country at large confused. While some people are ecstatic at someone finally younger and more energetic than Joe Biden, others are questioning and fearing if she's really the candidate that can stave off another 4 years of Donald Trump, which looks increasingly likely. But let me know in the comments what you think, because a lot of this confusion is gradually going to become untangled the closer that we move to November.